It was a bright morning in a small, peaceful town where a girl named Mina lived with her loyal dog, Buddy. Their house was small but warm, filled with laughter and love. Mina was 16, cheerful and full of dreams. She loved painting, singing, and spending time with her furry best friend. Buddy, a golden-colored dog with soft fur and kind eyes, had been with her since she was 8 years old. They had grown up together, sharing every happy and sad moment. The sun was rising slowly, spreading a golden glow through Mina's bedroom window. She woke up to the sound of birds singing outside. She smiled and stretched her arms before sitting up in bed. Buddy was already awake, lying near her feet, wagging his tail gently. "Good morning, Buddy," Mina said softly. Buddy barked once, as if saying good morning back. Mina giggled and scratched his head lovingly. "Let's get ready for the day." She got up, brushed her hair, and tied it neatly. Buddy followed her to the bathroom door and waited patiently. He always waited for her. He never left her side, not even for a minute. Mina's mother used to joke that Buddy was more protective than any human could ever be. Downstairs, Mina's mother was making breakfast. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. "Hurry up, Mina," her mother called. "You'll be late for school." "I'm coming, Mom," Mina replied, tying her shoelaces. She poured some dog food into Buddy's bowl and smiled. "Here, Buddy, breakfast time," but Buddy didn't move. He looked at the bowl and then looked up at Mina. His tail stopped wagging. His ears stood straight and his eyes were serious. Mina frowned a little. "What happened, boy? Don't you like your food today?" Buddy gave a low whine and walked toward the door. He stood there staring outside as if he heard something strange. Mina followed his gaze but saw nothing unusual. The street was quiet and the air was calm. "Buddy, it's just a normal morning," Mina said with a laugh. "You're being silly." She walked toward the door to pat his head, but Buddy took a step back and barked twice, short and loud. It startled her because Buddy was never the type to bark without reason. Mina knelt beside him. "What's wrong, Buddy?" she asked softly. Buddy's eyes didn't move away from hers. They were full of something she couldn't explain, worry, fear, and love all at once. He then turned toward the door again and barked once more, this time louder. Mina's mother came from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. "What's all this noise? Is everything okay?" "I don't know," Mina replied. "Buddy's acting strange today." Her mother looked at the dog and smiled. "Maybe he just wants to go out for a walk." Mina nodded slowly. "Maybe." She grabbed her school bag and opened the door. "Come on, Buddy, let's go for a quick walk before I leave." But Buddy didn't move. He stood in front of the door and blocked her way. His body was stiff, and his eyes were fixed on her as if he didn't want her to go out. Mina blinked in surprise. "Buddy, what are you doing? Move, boy." Buddy shook his head slightly and barked again, louder this time. Mina sighed. Okay, you win. I won't go yet." She closed the door halfway and sat down beside him. She placed her hand on his head. "What's going on, Buddy? You can tell me, right?" For a moment, everything went quiet. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock. Then Buddy suddenly ran toward the window and started barking again, looking outside. Mina stood up and peeked through the glass. The street was empty except for a few leaves blowing in the soft breeze. Her mother looked confused. "Maybe he senses something," she said. "Dogs can feel things we can't." Mina nodded slowly, trying to understand. She looked at Buddy again and smiled weakly. "You're my strange little hero, you know that?" Buddy wagged his tail softly, but his eyes still looked tense. He went near Mina and licked her hand, as if trying to warn her or protect her from something unseen. Mina hugged him tightly and whispered, "Don't worry, everything is fine." But deep inside, she felt a small worry too. Buddy had never acted like this before. That morning, neither Mina nor her mother knew that something was about to happen that would change their lives forever. Something that would test Buddy's love, loyalty, and courage in a way no one could imagine. Buddy stood near the door, still watching, still waiting, because somehow he knew that Mina's next few minutes were going to matter more than anything else in the world. The morning continued quietly, but something in the air felt different. Mina tried to shake off the strange feeling that Buddy had given her. She finished her breakfast and sat near the window, brushing her hair slowly. Buddy sat right beside her, still alert, still watching every movement. Mina looked at him with a small smile. "You're really acting funny today, Buddy," she said. "I'll be late for school if I don't leave soon." Buddy barked once, short and sharp, as if to say, "Don't go." Mina sighed and looked outside again. The street was still calm. The old milkman was riding his bicycle slowly. A few kids were walking to school, and an old woman was watering her garden. Everything looked normal. Her mother came out of the kitchen with Mina's lunchbox. "Here you go, dear," she said, placing it on the table. "And don't forget to take your umbrella. The weather report said it might rain later." Mina nodded and packed her bag. "Okay, Mom, I'll be back by afternoon." She picked up her bag and turned to Buddy. "You be a good boy, okay? I'll be back soon." But Buddy didn't wag his tail. Instead, he moved closer and sat right in front of the door again. He was blocking her path, his eyes full of something she couldn't read. Mina's mother laughed a little. "Buddy really doesn't want you to go today." "I know," Mina said softly. "It's like he's trying to tell me something." Her mother smiled. "Maybe he just loves you too much." Mina laughed lightly, but inside she still felt a strange uneasiness. She kneeled down and hugged Buddy. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I'll be fine." Buddy licked her cheek gently. When Mina stood up again and took a step forward, Buddy barked loudly. So loud that even the neighbors looked over the fence. Mina stopped and frowned. "Buddy," she said in surprise. "What's gotten into you?" But Buddy wouldn't stop. He barked again and again, moving in circles near her feet. Then suddenly he ran toward the kitchen and started barking at the back door. Mina and her mother exchanged looks. "Now what?" her mother said, walking after him. Buddy stood by the back door, looking outside and whining softly. Mina followed, curious. She opened the door slowly. A cool breeze entered the kitchen and a few leaves flew inside. Everything outside looked the same, quiet, peaceful, and sunny. "Buddy, there's nothing there," Mina said kindly. "See, it's just the garden." But Buddy didn't believe her. He stepped outside, sniffing the air and looking around carefully. His nose twitched and he looked back at Mina with a serious expression. Her mother smiled. "Let him play for a bit. Maybe he's just restless," Mina nodded. "All right. I'll wait a few more minutes." She sat down near the kitchen table and watched Buddy from the window. Outside, Buddy walked around the garden, sniffing near the old fence and the tall bushes. He barked once or twice and then looked toward the house again. His tail was stiff, not wagging like usual. Mina could see that he was alert to something unseen. She looked at her watch. "I really have to go now," she said to herself. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and called, "Buddy, come inside." Buddy ran back immediately but stopped at the doorway. He looked at Mina with eyes that seemed to say, "Please don't go yet." Mina sighed. "You're being so strange today, Buddy." Her mother chuckled. "Dogs sometimes feel the weather or sense small earthquakes. Maybe it's just that." "Maybe," Mina agreed. But her voice wasn't confident. She patted Buddy's head one last time and stepped outside. This time, Buddy followed her closely. She turned and said, "You can't come all the way to school, okay? Stay home." Buddy tilted his head as if he understood, but he didn't move back. He followed her halfway down the path. Mina turned around and smiled. "Go back, silly boy. I'll see you soon." Buddy stopped walking, but his eyes stayed fixed on her as she walked away. He stood there for a long time, not moving, not barking, just watching. The sky began to change slightly. The bright blue slowly turned pale as clouds started gathering far away. The wind grew cooler and the trees swayed gently. Buddy looked up and then back at the road where Mina had gone. He had a strange feeling, a feeling that something wasn't right. He didn't understand what it was, but deep inside he knew that Mina might need him soon. Back at school, Mina felt distracted. She couldn't stop thinking about Buddy. Her friends talked and laughed, but her mind was far away, thinking of her dog's serious eyes and how he tried to stop her. She didn't know that Buddy was still waiting at home, restless, pacing near the door, ears raised, ready for something he couldn't yet see, but could already feel coming. At school, Mina tried her best to focus on her lessons, but her mind kept drifting back home to Buddy. She could still see his worried eyes, the way he barked again and again, and how he refused to let her go. It wasn't like him at all. Usually he was cheerful and playful in the mornings. Today he had acted like something was wrong, something serious. Her friend Lena noticed her silence and asked softly, "Mina, are you okay? You look worried." Mina forced a smile. "I'm fine." Buddy was just acting strange today. "Maybe he's not feeling well." Lena nodded. "Dogs sometimes act funny when they're sick. I'm sure he'll be fine." Mina wanted to believe that. She nodded, but the uneasy feeling in her heart didn't go away. Every hour that passed made her more restless. She looked out of the classroom window again and again. The sky was turning cloudy, just like her mother had said. By lunchtime, the wind had grown stronger. The trees outside the schoolyard swayed gently and the smell of rain filled the air. Mina opened her lunchbox, but she didn't feel hungry. She just sat quietly, lost in thought. Lena looked at her and said, "You really love your dog, don't you?" Mina smiled softly. "He's more than a dog. He's family. He understands me even when I don't speak. Today he was trying to tell me something. I just wish I knew what it was." Lena laughed lightly. "You sound like you're talking about a person." Mina chuckled a little. "Maybe because Buddy feels like one. He listens to my stories. He sits beside me when I'm sad. And he always knows when something's wrong." The bell rang and the students went back to their classes. Mina sighed and closed her lunchbox. The sky was getting darker now. Back at home, Buddy was pacing near the window. He could hear the wind blowing stronger outside. He looked out again and again, waiting for Mina's figure to appear. But she didn't. He sat near the door, his ears moving at every sound. He could sense something in the air, something uneasy, like a quiet warning. Mina's mother was busy in the kitchen, but she noticed Buddy's strange behavior. "What's wrong, boy?" she asked kindly. Buddy turned toward her and barked once, then looked at the door again. She smiled. "Don't worry, Mina will be home soon." Buddy whimpered softly, resting his head on his paws. The sound of thunder rolled far away in the sky. Rain was coming. He stood up and walked to the window again. His eyes were full of worry. Back at school, the last bell finally rang. Mina quickly packed her things. "Bye, Lena. I have to go home before it starts raining." Lena waved. "Okay, take care." Mina walked out of the school gate and opened her umbrella. The first few drops of rain touched her hand. The road home was quiet, and the cool wind brushed against her face. She began to walk faster. As she passed by the small park near her house, she felt something odd. The air felt heavy and the light seemed dim, even though it was only afternoon. She looked around, but there was no one nearby. The leaves rustled and the street was almost empty. She whispered to herself, "I'll be home soon." Meanwhile, Buddy began barking loudly at home. He ran to the door, then to the window, then back to the door again. Mina's mother rushed out of the kitchen, surprised. "Buddy, what's happening? Why are you barking like that?" Buddy pawed at the door, whining and barking. He wanted to go out. He could feel something. His heart beat faster. Mina's mother hesitated for a moment, but then opened the door. "Okay, go on then," she said. Buddy ran out immediately, his paws hitting the wet ground. The rain had started to fall harder. He ran down the street, his ears flat against the wind, his nose following Mina's familiar scent. Mina was just turning the corner near their street when she saw a golden shape running toward her through the rain. She blinked in surprise. "Buddy?" she called. Buddy reached her and barked loudly, circling around her. Mina smiled with relief. "Oh, Buddy, you came all the way here. You silly boy." She bent down and hugged him tightly. Buddy licked her hands and then pulled gently at her sleeve, as if trying to lead her somewhere. Mina frowned. "What is it, boy? What do you want me to see?" Buddy barked again and started running ahead, looking back every few steps to make sure she was following. Mina hesitated but then began walking after him. Curious and slightly nervous, she had no idea that what Buddy was leading her toward was going to change everything and then reveal why he had been acting strange since morning. The rain fell softly as Mina followed Buddy down the narrow street. Her shoes splashed in the puddles and her umbrella shook a little in the wind. She called out, "Buddy, where are you going? That's not the way home." But Buddy didn't stop. His golden fur glistened with raindrops as he ran ahead, barking softly, turning his head again and again to make sure Mina was still following. There was something urgent in his behavior, something that told Mina she needed to trust him. "All right, Buddy," she said with a sigh. "I'm coming." They passed the small park, crossed a quiet lane, and reached an old road that Mina rarely used. The rain grew heavier and dark clouds covered the sky completely. Mina's heart beat faster. She felt both nervous and curious. Buddy finally stopped near an old tree that stood beside the road. The tree was tall, with thick roots and wide branches that looked strong even in the rain. Buddy began to bark and scratch at the ground near the tree. Mina ran toward him, her clothes slightly wet. "Buddy, what is it? Why are you digging here?" Buddy barked again and looked up at her, then went back to pawing the ground gently. Mina leaned down to see what he was doing. Her eyes widened when she noticed something unusual, a small metal object half buried in the wet soil. She brushed the dirt away carefully and pulled it out. It was a silver bracelet with a small heart charm. Mina gasped softly. This is mine," she whispered. "I lost this last week." She looked at Buddy in surprise. "You brought me here for this?" Buddy wagged his tail lightly, but his eyes still looked serious. Mina smiled and said, "You're amazing, Buddy, you found it." But then Buddy barked again and turned toward the road behind the tree. His body stiffened and his ears twitched. Mina looked in the same direction but saw nothing unusual, just the empty street and falling rain. "Buddy, there's nothing there," she said softly. But Buddy didn't relax. He stood tall, watching the road with sharp eyes, his tail straight, his breath steady. A sudden breeze blew through the trees and Mina felt a shiver run down her spine. She didn't know why, but she could sense something strange too. The air felt heavy, almost as if time had slowed down for a moment. Mina took a deep breath and said, "Let's go home, Buddy. We'll catch a cold out here." She turned to walk back, but Buddy didn't move. He barked once, then again, louder than before. "What's wrong, boy?" she asked, stepping closer. Buddy walked a few steps forward and looked back at her, almost like he was guiding her again. Mina sighed and followed. "You're leading me somewhere again, aren't you?" Buddy led her around the big tree, and suddenly Mina noticed a small opening in the ground beside the roots, a deep gap hidden by wet leaves. It looked like a hole, dark and narrow. "Buddy, be careful," Mina said, kneeling near it. She picked up a stick and gently moved the leaves away. Inside the hole, she saw a small bird that was stuck and trembling. Its tiny wings were wet and weak. Mina gasped softly. "Oh no, poor thing. It must have fallen in." Buddy whined and looked at her as if saying, "Please help it." Mina smiled softly. "You're such a kind boy, Buddy." She reached in carefully and lifted the little bird in her hands. It was shivering but alive. She held it close, protecting it from the rain. "It's okay now," she whispered. Buddy wagged his tail for the first time that day, looking relieved. Mina smiled through the rain. "So this is what you wanted me to see. You saved this little one." She gently placed the bird under her umbrella and looked at Buddy. "You're really special, you know that?" They stood there for a moment, the sound of rain falling softly around them. Mina's heart felt warm. Even though she was wet and cold, she felt thankful to be there with Buddy. Then, as she looked up at the sky, she noticed that the dark clouds were slowly breaking apart. The rain began to lighten, and a soft ray of sunlight peeked through. It fell gently on Buddy's face, making his golden fur shine. Mina smiled and said, "Come on, let's take this little bird home and keep it safe until it can fly again." Buddy barked happily this time, his tail moving fast. Together they started walking back home through the quiet street. Mina didn't know it yet, but this simple act of kindness would become the first sign of something far greater. A connection so deep that it would soon lead to an unforgettable miracle. Mina and Buddy slowly walked home through the soft rain. Mina held her umbrella carefully so that the small bird in her hands would stay dry. Buddy walked close beside her, his fur damp but his eyes bright and calm now. It was as if he knew his job wasn't finished yet. When they reached home, Mina's mother opened the door and gasped softly, "Oh my goodness, you both are soaked." "Come inside quickly," Mina smiled. "Mom, look what Buddy found." Her mother looked at the tiny bird shivering in Mina's hands. "Oh dear, poor thing," she said gently. "Let's dry it and keep it warm." They placed the bird in a small box lined with a towel. Mina carefully wiped its wings with a soft cloth. Buddy sat beside the box, watching every move with curious eyes. The bird's tiny chest moved up and down as it breathed slowly. Her mother smiled. "It's lucky that Buddy found it. You both did a good thing today." Mina nodded proudly. "Buddy led me right to it. He was acting strange all morning because of this." Her mother looked thoughtful. Maybe he felt the bird's fear. Animals can sense things we don't understand. Mina looked at Buddy and whispered, "You're amazing, Buddy. You really are." Buddy wagged his tail softly, as if he understood. He then lay near the box, keeping his head low as if guarding the tiny life inside. The rain outside slowly stopped, and soft sunlight filled the room. The house felt peaceful. Mina changed her wet clothes and came back to sit beside Buddy. She placed her hand on his back. We'll take care of it until it's strong again, she said softly. Buddy closed his eyes and rested his head on her lap. Mina smiled and stroked his fur. For the first time that day, she felt completely calm. Evening arrived and the golden light of sunset touched the walls. The bird was sleeping quietly in its box. Mina sat by the window watching the clouds fade into orange and pink. Her mother was cooking dinner, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Everything felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. Buddy suddenly lifted his head. His ears twitched again. Mina looked down. "What is it now?" she asked softly. Buddy stood up and walked to the door, sniffing the air. He barked once, not loudly, but with purpose. Mina tilted her head. "You want to go out again?" He barked once more. Her mother looked over. "Maybe he needs some fresh air," she said kindly. Mina nodded, put on her sandals, and opened the door. The air outside was cool and fresh after the rain. Drops still clung to the leaves, and the road shone under the fading sunlight. Buddy walked out slowly, then turned to look at her, wagging his tail. Mina followed, curious. "Where to now, Buddy?" He led her toward the small garden in front of their house. The plants were glistening with raindrops. The birdhouse that Mina's father had made last year stood near the fence, quiet and empty. Buddy walked up to it and sat down. Mina smiled softly. "Do you think our little bird friend will live here one day?" Buddy barked once as if to agree. Mina laughed lightly. "Maybe that's what you wanted to show me." She gently placed the small bird box near the birdhouse. "When it gets better, we'll let it fly again." Buddy wagged his tail happily. Then, as if remembering something, he walked closer to Mina and rested his head against her leg. His eyes were calm but full of meaning. Mina bent down and hugged him. "I don't know how you knew about that bird, but you're special. You always know what's right." The sky above them began to darken slowly and stars started to appear one by one. A cool breeze brushed Mina's face. The whole world felt peaceful in that moment. That night after dinner, Mina sat beside Buddy near the box where the bird was sleeping. She whispered, "You know, Buddy, sometimes I think you're sent by something greater, like you can hear things that others can't." Buddy blinked his eyes slowly as if answering her without words. Mina smiled and continued softly. "Today, when you led me out there, I didn't understand. But now I see, you weren't just trying to save the bird. You were showing me something, that small lives matter too. That kindness always comes back." Her mother, standing nearby, smiled quietly. "That's true, Mina. You learned something important today." Mina looked at her dog lovingly. "I think Buddy's more than just a pet. He's a miracle in disguise." Buddy wagged his tail once and rested his head on her lap again. The warmth between them filled the quiet room. Outside, the rain had stopped completely. The moon shone gently through the clouds, lighting up the small birdhouse in the garden. Inside the house, Mina and Buddy sat side by side, hearts calm and connected, not knowing that this peaceful night was the beginning of something even more extraordinary. The night was calm and quiet. The sound of crickets filled the air and the cool breeze moved gently through the curtains of Mina's room. The small bird was sleeping peacefully in its box and Buddy lay near it, keeping watch. Mina sat on her bed, looking at the moonlight shining through the window. Her mind kept going back to what had happened that day, the strange way Buddy had behaved, how he led her to the lost bracelet, and how he found the little bird. Everything felt like more than a coincidence. She whispered softly, "You're not just a dog, Buddy. You understand things we can't." Buddy raised his head slightly and looked at her, his golden eyes calm and full of trust. Mina smiled, then turned off her bedside lamp. "Good night, Buddy," she said. As the room grew darker, Buddy didn't close his eyes immediately. He lifted his head and looked toward the window. The wind outside grew stronger and the branches of the trees swayed in the moonlight. Something made Buddy's ears twitch. He stood up quietly and walked toward the window. Mina, half asleep, opened her eyes a little. "What is it, boy?" she whispered. Buddy stared outside for a long moment, then turned and walked to her bed. He rested his head near her hand as if to make sure she was safe. Mina smiled softly and went back to sleep. The hours passed and the clock struck midnight. The moonlight dimmed as the clouds moved across the sky. The air felt cooler. Buddy suddenly stood up again. He felt something strange, a quiet sound like a low hum. He turned toward the door, his nose twitching. He walked quietly into the hallway. Everything was silent, but Buddy could sense a change in the air. He went near Mina's mother's room, checked inside for a moment, and then came back to Mina's side. Mina moved slightly in her sleep and whispered, "Buddy, what's wrong?" Buddy barked softly just once. His tail didn't move. Mina sat up now, fully awake. The light from the street lamp outside flickered through the window. "You're acting strange again," she said with a sleepy smile. Buddy barked again and walked toward the door. He looked back at her, eyes filled with urgency. Mina frowned. "You want me to come?" Buddy nodded slightly and barked one more time. Mina sighed and got out of bed. Okay, I'm coming." She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders and followed him down the hallway. Buddy stopped near the back door. He scratched it lightly with his paw and looked up at her. Mina unlocked it and slowly opened it. Cool air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet soil. The moon peeked out from behind the clouds. Everything outside looked calm. Yet something about the silence made Mina uneasy. Buddy stepped out slowly and looked toward the small garden. His ears were raised. Mina followed him with a lantern in her hand. "Buddy, what are we looking for?" she asked softly. Buddy walked toward the birdhouse, the same one from earlier. Mina followed close behind. When they reached it, Buddy barked once and sat down. Mina looked at the birdhouse carefully. The little bird was no longer in the box, it was gone. The towel was empty. Mina blinked. "It's gone. It flew away," she whispered with surprise. Buddy wagged his tail softly, almost like he was smiling. Mina felt warmth in her chest. "You wanted to show me this?" she asked. "You knew it was ready to fly." Buddy barked gently, as if to say yes. Mina looked up at the sky, and there, above the trees, she saw a small shadow flying across the moonlight. It was the little bird, free and strong, her heart filled with joy. "It's flying, Buddy." "You helped it," she said with a big smile. Buddy wagged his tail happily. The moment was peaceful and full of life. Mina felt tears of happiness in her eyes. She looked at Buddy and said softly, "Maybe this was your miracle. Maybe you were meant to save it." They stood there for a while, watching the little bird disappear into the night sky. The stars above them shone brighter than before, and the cool breeze brushed gently through Mina's hair. Mina looked at Buddy again. "You're more than just my dog. You're my guardian," she whispered. Buddy barked softly and rubbed his head against her leg. Mina laughed lightly and hugged him. "Come on, let's go back inside before we catch a cold." They returned to the warm house. Mina placed her lantern on the table and sat beside Buddy. "Today felt special," she said, stroking his fur. "It's like something magical happened." Buddy rested his head on her lap and closed his eyes, his heart peaceful. As the night grew quieter, Mina began to feel sleepy again. She whispered one last time before closing her eyes, "Good night, my miracle friend." Buddy's tail moved softly. Outside, the moonlight filled the garden, shining on the empty bird box, a silent reminder that kindness and love always create miracles. What Mina didn't know was that the next day would test that miracle once more, in a way she would never forget. The next morning, Mina woke up feeling a strange energy in the air. The sunlight streamed through the window, but something felt different. Buddy was already awake, sitting near her bed, eyes wide and alert. His tail wagged slowly, but there was a sense of urgency in his posture. Mina rubbed her eyes and whispered, "Good morning, Buddy. What's wrong today?" Buddy barked softly once, then ran toward the door. He stopped and looked back at her as if saying, "Follow me quickly." Mina got up immediately. Something about Buddy's behavior made her feel a mix of curiosity and concern. She quickly got dressed, grabbed her shoes, and followed him. Outside, the morning air was cool and fresh. The streets were quiet, almost empty. Buddy ran ahead, sniffing the ground carefully, then stopping to look back at Mina. She followed him, wondering why he seemed so determined. Suddenly, Buddy stopped near the edge of a small bridge over a calm stream. He barked loudly and ran in circles, then looked up at her again. Mina frowned. "What is it, Buddy? Is something wrong?" Buddy barked again and ran toward a patch of grass near the stream. Mina walked closer and saw a faint glow coming from the grass. She bent down carefully and gasped. It was a small, sparkling object shining under the morning sun. Mina picked it up slowly. It was a tiny golden locket, delicate and beautiful. She opened it and saw a small photo inside. Her heart skipped a beat. It was a picture of a little girl smiling, holding a small dog, just like Buddy. Mina looked at Buddy. How did you know this was here? How did you find it? Buddy barked softly and wagged his tail, as if he was proud of his discovery. Mina held the locket tightly. Something about it felt magical. She didn't understand why Buddy had found it, but deep down she knew it was important. She could feel it in the way Buddy's eyes were fixed on her, full of trust and love. Suddenly the wind blew gently across the stream, and Mina heard a faint voice in her mind. It was soft, gentle, but clear. 3 minutes. Only 3 minutes. Mina's heart raced. She looked around. Buddy, did you hear that? She whispered. Buddy barked once and ran in a circle, then looked back at her urgently. His behavior told her to stay calm but act quickly. Mina held the locket close and walked slowly toward the other side of the bridge. Buddy stayed by her side, never leaving her for a moment. The air felt heavy yet calm, like a quiet warning. Mina took a deep breath. Okay, Buddy, we'll do this together. Suddenly, she saw a small crowd gathered a little further down the road. They were pointing toward something near the corner of the park. Mina's heart skipped a beat. She moved closer, holding Buddy's leash tightly. She gasped as she saw what was happening. A little boy had slipped near the water and was struggling to stay balanced. Buddy barked loudly and ran forward, his paws moving fast across the wet grass. Mina's mind raced. She remembered the voice in her mind, 3 minutes. She realized that Buddy had known this moment was coming. He had been preparing her, guiding her to be ready. Buddy jumped gently near the boy and barked, nudging him carefully with his nose. The boy looked at Buddy and held onto the nearby railing. Mina ran toward them, heart pounding, and held out her hands to help him steady himself. In that moment, time seemed to slow. The wind stopped blowing, the world felt silent, and all that mattered was Buddy and the boy. Mina felt the warmth of Buddy's fur against her hands. She realized that Buddy had not just saved the little bird, not just guided her. It was bigger than that. He had been preparing her for moments like this. The boy regained his balance and smiled at Buddy. "Thank you, doggy," he said softly. Buddy barked happily, tail wagging fast. Mina knelt beside Buddy, holding his head gently. "You did it again, Buddy. You knew, didn't you?" "You knew what was coming." Buddy barked softly, nuzzling her cheek. Mina smiled through her tears. She hugged him tightly. "You are my miracle, Buddy. Every single day you show me love and courage." The golden sunlight broke fully through the clouds, shining on the little locket in Mina's hand and Buddy's shining fur. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Buddy's love and loyalty had created another miracle, saving a life, guiding Mina, and reminding her that small acts of courage could change everything. Mina looked into Buddy's eyes and whispered, "I don't know what I would do without you." Buddy barked softly and wagged his tail, as if to say, "You'll never have to find out." At that moment, Mina realized that Buddy was more than a dog. He was her guide, her guardian, and a true miracle in her life. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. Mina and Buddy walked home slowly, the excitement of the day still in their hearts. Mina held the golden locket gently in her hand. She couldn't stop thinking about how Buddy had guided her, protected the little bird, and helped save the boy earlier. As they reached home, Mina's mother came out to greet them. "You both look tired but happy. Did something happen?" she asked. Mina smiled softly. "Yes, Mom, Buddy led me today, and helped me understand something important." Her mother looked at Buddy with admiration. "He's a remarkable dog, Mina. You're lucky to have him." Mina knelt beside Buddy and hugged him tightly. "He's more than just a dog," she said softly. "He's my miracle. He saved lives today, and he's always guiding me when I need him." Buddy wagged his tail slowly and licked her hand. It was as if he understood every word she said. Later that evening, Mina sat by her window, watching the stars appear in the night sky. Buddy lay beside her, resting his head on her lap. She held the small bird in her hands, now fully recovered and chirping happily. "You know, Buddy," she whispered, "today felt like a dream. I don't understand how you knew what was going to happen, but you were there guiding me, showing me what to do. You saved so much more than just a little bird or a boy. You saved hearts." Buddy nuzzled her gently, his golden eyes shining in the moonlight. Mina smiled through tears. "I think everyone should have a buddy," she whispered. "Someone who believes in you, protects you, and loves you no matter what." Her mother called from the kitchen, "Dinner is ready." Mina kissed Buddy on his head. "Come on, boy. Let's eat." After dinner, Mina placed the recovered bird back into the birdhouse in the garden. Buddy watched carefully, his tail wagging as the little bird chirped and looked around. Mina knelt beside Buddy and whispered, "See, you helped it fly again, just like you helped me understand how to be brave and kind." Buddy barked softly as if agreeing. The night grew calm. Mina and Buddy sat together on the porch looking at the stars. Mina's heart felt full. She thought about the morning, about the 3 minutes she had felt something strange, and how Buddy had guided her through every step. "You know, Buddy," she said softly, "today was more than just a miracle. It was a lesson. You taught me that love and courage can change everything. You taught me to believe in kindness and to act quickly when someone needs help. You're my hero." Buddy rested his head on her lap, tail moving slowly. Mina stroked his fur and whispered, "I think everyone in the world should have someone like you." The moon rose high in the sky, shining over the garden and the birdhouse. The little bird flew from branch to branch, free and happy. Buddy barked softly once, watching it, then looked at Mina with eyes full of trust and love. Mina smiled and whispered, "Thank you, Buddy. Thank you for everything." Buddy wagged his tail again and nudged her hand. Mina laughed softly, tears of joy in her eyes. "I don't know how I got so lucky to have you, but I'll always take care of you, just like you take care of me." The stars twinkled above them. The garden was peaceful, and the night air was calm. Buddy rested quietly beside Mina, and for the first time, she realized that some bonds were deeper than words, stronger than any challenge, and brighter than any miracle she had ever imagined. Mina leaned back on the porch, holding Buddy close. She whispered softly into the night, "With you by my side, Buddy, I know I can face anything, and I'll always remember today, the day my dog showed me what a true miracle looks like." Buddy closed his eyes, resting peacefully. Outside, the world felt safe, filled with hope, love, and the quiet magic that only a loyal heart could bring. And in that peaceful night, Mina understood the greatest truth of all. Miracles don't always come from the sky. Sometimes they come on 4 paws with a wagging tail, a loving heart, and eyes that see exactly what you need before you even know it yourself.